Ethiopia is endowed with latent tourism potential, and the country also has been described at various levels, given the name as the cradle of mankind, 30 months of sunshine, and now land of origin. And tourism is also one of the activities that the country has been getting large revenue. However, as a result of the pandemic and conflicts in different parts of the world, made the situation a little bit difficult. And despite all these challenges, the Ministry of Tourism and as well as other stakeholders are leaving no stone unturned to make Ethiopia the best destination in the coming years. And today, to talk about different pertinent issues and relevant ideas, I am joined here in the studio with a special guest of mine, Seleshi Girma, State Minister for Ministry of Tourism, to talk about this pertinent issue. This is ETV English special program with your host, Binyam Gitana, and do follow us. It's a pleasure having you here, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So let's start with the actual tourism activity as we speak. What does the flow of tourists like in general?
I'm sure you must have known that the tourism grows in the country, particularly, starting from the millennium was really growing much. And following the reform, in the very first year, we had also received the maximum number of tourists close to 1 million that we never achieved in the past. But unfortunately, following this global pandemic, the coronavirus and the security issues, we are now seeing declining of tourist arrivals. But as we speak, it seems the tourist flow is rejuvenating, following the invitation of the diaspora community by our Prime Minister and the ear-to-ear invitation from the global community. And at the same time, the existence of this coronavirus vaccination, the number of the tourist flow is now enhancing, and we are very optimistic in that.
Interesting. So let's indulge into your main activity that you are doing under the ministry, and it would be very interesting so that we can have a follow-up question.
Yes. Following, in the past year, the tourism ministry has got maximum focus and attention. In this, from the Ministry of Culture and Tourism now, there is a sole-standing and strong tourism ministry. That's one. And the second would be the government itself, the national government, including our Prime Minister, has already invested time in developing and constructing new touristic destinations, including in Addis and in the regions. And in the Ministry of Tourism alone, we have now changed, our way of looking into the sector. In the past, we used to mainly focus on the holiday tourism, or we call it the vacation, and the market were mainly focused on the West, meaning to say on North America, including Canada and the Europe markets. So now we presume that Ethiopia would be one of the best conference tourism destination. So we have established the Ethiopian Convention Bureau, and accordingly we have also focused on new markets and targets like the Middle East. We started focusing on Asia, mainly of the China market, and also we have focused on the domestic tourism. Until the international tourism really rebounds, we have to focus on the domestic tourism. And again, also we have focused on the Africa market. Countries like Kenya and other nationalities in Africa are achieving highest tourist arrival due to the focus in the Africa market itself.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So having that in mind, we know the fact that the global pandemic has been a concern for everyone, and then it sounds true that the tourism and the hospitality industry has been the hardest hit sector, and Ethiopia is also suffering from that. And we see that practically happening. What was the kind of resilience and some of the remedy that you come up with in order to keep the tempo of tourism in that sector?
Like beautifully said, it was hard hit by COVID-19 with the fact that tourism is a very people-oriented sector. And it's highly depend on the people's mobility between places. So the transportation mainly of the air flights was stopped. Hotels and including tourist destinations, were closed. The tourist service providers were out of jobs. So that was the hard hit, I mean, to show how the sector was negatively affected. Following that, we as the government and the tourism ministry were doing lots of effort to show and build the confidence of tourists to come back to the country, and also the investors and the service providers, the private sector, to also still keep the promising future of the sector, and to rely trust on the sector, and to still wait in the business. So what we did was to build the confidence of the clients. We have been disinfecting tourist destinations so that tourists will develop confidence to come. We were, designing a COVID protocol so that they can see, touchless payment system is established in Ethiopia, and at the same time, they can see that this physical distance issues, sanitization of different services. All these were some of the efforts we have done, and accordingly we have achieved the global safe travel stamp, so that tourists would come easily to the country. That's one. And the second would be to keep the private business. We had efforts with the National Bank of Ethiopia and the Ministry of Finance. Accordingly, we secure certain amount of money for the private sector to access it in a form of soft loan, so that they at least keep the employees with them, and then accordingly they can wait for the sector to rebound, and also there won't be too much layoff and the layoff of employees. So we have been doing that to support the private sector. At the same time, to remind the tourists that Ethiopia is still one of the top touristic destinations in Africa, we have been doing aggressive digital tourism promotion using social media, websites, and email marketing. So we were trying to keep the tourists with us. At the same time, we were trying to build the confidence of tourists, and also for the private sector to rely trust on the sector. We tried to finance some of the tourism actors, mainly of hotels, who have collateral also for the bank, to give confidence to repay back for the soft loan in future. So there were some efforts of this kind, but in the meantime, though tourists were not coming in good number, we have been focusing on designing different strategies, like a domestic tourism development strategies, ecotourism development strategies that has to do with the national parks we have, and we have been also designing beautiful destination development projects, including how we can develop landmark, how we can develop community lodges, how we can establish light touristic infrastructure and facility for tourists to access the country, such as to build visitor centers, tourist information centers, and the like. So we were doing many things at a time, thinking that tourism will rebound, and we noticed that it's already rebounding.
Very interesting.
Yes.
With all this challenge, you have succeeded to meet this expectation.
Yes.
However, let me take you back to the real situation when the COVID-19 was a global phenomenon. And as we've said it, Ethiopia was highly affected. And some of the heritage in Ethiopia, especially in the northern part of Ethiopia, the Lalibela Church was going through a lot of difficulties. And as a result, the tour guide professionals were a bit out of job. And was there any solution that you provided for this? Because obviously we see people were not engaging in that activity due to all the kind of precautionary measures that was put into practice, and many of them were not operating. So from your institution point of view, as there were a lot of people were generating their income, their daily income from the everyday tourism activity, how did you support them?
Well, I would say there were efforts obviously from our side. One of this initiative was, to create a kind of venture with some of the private sector who had more business beyond the tourism, and then organizing this kind of biking tours and different events. We tried to raise some finance and assist tourist guides in different parts of the country. For example, in Bali, in Lalibela, and in Dorze, Arba Minch area, and also in Bahir Dar, and even in Tigray, in Gera Alta also, because though there were some difficulties, security conditions, but we were able, as a bank, we were performing by then. So we were trying to organize different events and charities. That was one of the initiatives, but was very minimal and I would say very limited and not enough. But it was one of the trials we did. And the second was, we tried, we knew that these professional tourist guides are becoming idle because they have nothing to do. The tourists were not coming during COVID. So what we did was we organized continuous training at different parts of the country. We organized training, I would say, in almost 5 or 6 different places. So that all the local guides and the national professional guides meet together and discuss about tourism. We were focusing on, skill building, communication, ethics, and also partly a refresher and a kind of psychosocial support by offering this training and trying to bring more key expertise from different subject matters. So we were able to organize trainings, and the other is with the help of the Job Creation Commission by then, now the Ministry of Jobs and Skills, we were able to, assist some of the highly vulnerable tourist guides to get at least some finance in the form of subsidy. But this was a very limited effort, looking into, the number of tourist guides that we have in this beautiful country.
Interesting. So how's
the expectations?
How's the situation like now in terms of getting the job back?
I would say now I see that it's a very bright future, and there is a high chance that tourism to rebound because by then there were no flights to and from Ethiopia. Now all the flights have resumed to different corners of the world. And now all the hotels have reopened their business. And the tourist destinations, including, palaces, museums, and the like, which were closed, including the national parks, are now reopened. Now also the global community, including we the hosts, are vaccinated. So there is no fear of COVID-19 anymore, or there would be very minimal stress. So looking into this, I would say the tourism will rebound very quickly. And then accordingly there will be tourists coming, and every tourist will look for a guide, and the guide will start working.
It's interesting. Yes. That's what we all like to wish.
Yes.
And when the conflict started, there has been a damage against some of the historic heritages, one of which is Lalibela partially being attacked. And there were, delegates from the government and from your side as well who paid a visit to Lalibela and see the overall structure of the church situation. Yes. How is it like right now? Do we still have chance to bring tourists there so that people can still talk about the significance of Lalibela and the involvement and participation of the other government as well?
Yes, like you said, there were, huge negative impact due to the war that happened in the war fronts, including Afar and Amhara region and Tigray. So we knew that mosques in Tigray were affected, the churches were affected, museums were looted, including the Wollo Museum, the Dese Museum, and there were also national parks like the Kafta Shiraro or Kafta Humara National Park. All the facilities were robbed, and also some of the heritage were looted, and the people who are serving also in this particular touristic spots were in danger. So looking into the Lalibela Rokion churches particularly, I'm glad that the churches has never been attacked. They are all beautifully as it was, and the church services are still going on. except some of the museums that are in Dase, for example, which were looted, but we have to bring them back to service again and try to, if possible, collect. Otherwise, looking into the photographs, there is a way of reconstructing and rehabilitating the service and the physical structure too.
So has it been successful?
No, it's just an effort so far, and it's not finalized yet. But looking into some of the heritage, they are already now started giving service. For example, there were restrictions also for tourists not to go to Lalibela.
Exactly.
Yeah, months back, we had an initiative taking the American ambassador, the Australian, New Zealand ambassador, the UN country director, and the UNESCO director also, to go to see Lalibela, to see the churches, to see how the people are dependent on tourism, and then accordingly to at least lose or remove the travel ban they have put. So they agreed on that. They are also started, communicating and informing the global community to come, informing their citizen to go and visit Lalibela. So it's a good achievement from our side. And again, some of the national parks which were robbed, their vehicles, with the help of the Ethiopian Wildlife Conservation Authority, which is under our ministry. Now we have started supporting and sending of additional vehicles for the park, to do the patrolling and the conservation efforts to strengthen their efforts. So we are doing
extraordinary.
Yes.
That's really nice. And how are you doing the communication, like to make sure people, especially our targets are tourists, and how are we addressing the very concept of tourism, that situations are pretty well, so that we can generate a lot of tourists in the coming year. And this year is also ultimately the year that we Ethiopians are going to leave no stone unturned to take the tourism sector to the highest level with people like you.
Yes, I think that's a very important question. Of course, our heritages are here, and our customers or clients are in overseas. So to reach them, the most difficult thing was in the past, trade fairs and business to business, road shows, and different events were cancelled. But this time, luckily, all these have started, and accordingly, in the recent, maybe 3-4 months back, one of the biggest global trade fair for the MICE tourism in Frankfurt. We call it IMX. So it has happened.
You've been there, right?
And yes, our ministry took part, including the private sector. So we show our visibility and the commitment of the Ethiopian government and the Ethiopian tourism community to welcome tourists. And soon in November, there is one of the biggest trade fair. We call it World Travel Market. It happens in London. And then we will go also with the private sector. Good number of tour operators are going with us. Then this is going to be another actual presence and very important and essential visibility. So we are now taking part in globally arranged trade fair and business-to-business networkings. And the second is using our embassies abroad. We have regular communication with the tourism community of those different respective countries, and we had discussion. We give responses, whatever concern they have, and whatever information they require. So we have this regular communication with the help of our embassies in overseas. And again, we are also using media, both national and international media. Recently, we brought media including Latin America, from Brazil, for example. We started bringing influential media from different parts of the world to come and capture.
Which are?
Like the Citizen TV in Kenya, the Brazil travel media, and the Djibouti media also, from neighboring countries also, to create this regional tourism.
So you're using them to?
Yes, and also travel writers from overseas, including from Russia. With the help of our embassy, we brought them. So we are using travel writers, media, international media, those which are, available in our capacity. Not CNN and BBC so far, or Al Jazeera, but those who are really focusing on tourism, those which we feel are, very possible to impact the global community, mainly of the tourism sector. So we focus on that, and we have started communication, organizing a familiarization trip for them to come and see Ethiopia, to capture the beauty of this country, and also sell it back or promote it back in their home. So the familiarization trip, the trade fair, the business-to-business networking, the digital promotion, all these are happening. So accordingly, I'm sure we will achieve something. These are all beyond, the national efforts and the domestic efforts we have in the country, organizing and working with the private sector like tour operators, hotel associations, tourist guides, and the media too.
Yes, interesting.
Yes.
You've earlier said that you were working, introducing the tourism potential to the concerned parties or outside people through virtual means.
Yes.
And what were you doing through that? Like when you say virtually, because tourism by itself, requires practical touch, so that you can realize the beauty and different, aspects of it. But how has been that successful? And were you only doing the promotion sector, or what were you doing?
That's a mystery of selling service or selling tourism. It's not like a bottle of water that people can see and choose. We are selling Ethiopia, but the clients are overseas. So what we do is we produce, amazing videos, short videos, and we also organize some testimonies of tourists who were in Ethiopia in the past, and their testimonies that they give about the beauty of this country, how they experience it, and the different activities they enjoyed. So we show these short videos first, and then accordingly we brief them. We know some of their concerns in advance. We know people are worried about the visa issue. We know people will ask questions about the security conditions. We know people will ask how accessible it is to visit different places within the country. We know people will ask how the COVID conditions and things like that. So we have prepared a beautiful presentation addressing all these important key issues that's in the mind of the clients. We also do that, and accordingly we created. We also always we make sure private sector is involved, and in any form of presentation we have. So the private sector will do the business-to-business networking with them, and they talk about the business deals. They think about their profitability and how safely they can bring clients and send them back home. So this way we are trying to sell the country. Otherwise, if you sell them, Ethiopia is beautiful, they don't come.
Good.
Because they have the whole world to choose from.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we know that Addis Ababa is going through extreme changes, as there are big projects that's happening like that of the opening of Unity Park and Friendship and other places that give Addis a new color.
Yes.
And I hope that this is also very important for promoting tourism. Say a new perspective and taking your organization task into consideration. How significant are these, and how are we going to make this particular place a touristy destination? And what work has been done in your new part?
Well, that's very true. Addis is flourishing much, and it become it's not only a trade center or a political center or a diplomatic center. It become a tourist hub. Accordingly, there are beautiful tourist destinations which were developed already and now open for visitors. Looking into that, we again focus on Addis to make it as a primary conference destination in the continent. We knew that the African people would love to have their conference in Addis, but that's not enough. We want the Middle East communities who are in the heat to come and have their meeting here. We are really pushing the global corporate meetings to come to Addis. So we are trying to create a new touristic product for Addis Ababa city as a conference hub for the global community, much beyond the African continent. And the other is Addis used to be, it's just a transit area, like for people who are interested to come from Berlin and visit Lalibela, or who are coming from the UK to go to Arba or Bali. But now tourists are also coming to visit Addis at least for a day or two or above, because they knew that we have iconic touristic products like the Unity Park, the Entoto Park, the National Museum. We have Mercato, and also the beautiful city of Addis, including the Piazza area, which is the old city. So we are really focusing on that. We designed packages for a city tour. That's what we do. So the city tour package will always keep clients to stay for a while to visit the capital city, and also to experience some new things, including the Ethiopian dish, and cultural restaurants, to try some music and a cultural music places. So Addis is already a tourist destination. It's no more a diplomatic or a political center alone. So that's why we feel.
Good. And we are going to also be part of the World Tourism Celebration, which we're going to have it in a few days. And what is its significance, and what is the Ethiopian contribution in that concept as well?
Well, the World Tourism Day used to be has been celebrated for the past 40 years and above globally, and we have also celebrated it, I think, 34 years in the past, and now the 35th year we are celebrating it now in the regions. Particularly in Benishangul, at Asosa, and close to the Grand Renaissance Dam. So the very essence of the World Tourism Day is to create an advocacy and talk about tourism within the global community, at least for the month of September. And the idea is tourism contributes much to the economy. It creates social networking between places, between people. They share culture, and it strengthens the social ties. And also, tourism contributes much in the conservation of cultural heritage and natural resources, including wildlife. So, such a very important sector that has to do a lot with the economy, culture, and conservation of nature has not been much advocated. And it doesn't, really persist in the minds and heart of the society at large, even in the minds of the tourism community. So it really urges, for a quick intervention of advocating the issue and bringing it as an agenda to the policymakers, to the decision makers, to support the sector more. So that way, this World Tourism Day was discussed and decided to be celebrated in every year on 27th of September. So we as Ethiopian used to celebrate it in Addis, in the capital alone, and in a meeting hall. Now we have changed that trend since the past few years, and it's being celebrated in the regions because we have beautiful regions which have huge tourism potential that has not been promoted much for different reasons. Now we want to escape that and make sure every region show its potential, its history, its culture, and its resources to the national community, to the global community. So that's why we are heading to Asosa, and it's also a great opportunity to show the Great Renaissance Dam will also have a huge influence in future to have, islands, resort cities, and at the same time also water sports and different activities. And the process of the Grand Renaissance Dam, the building and all the process would be also one amazing museum, how this happened to be since thinking of the GERD and making it an actual
tourist
hydroelectric power generation and touristic spot, both.
Interesting.
Yes.
And we are going to also collaborate the finding of the true cross, which is Meskel, which is going to be, of course, celebrated particularly here in Addis Ababa at Meskel Square. And Recha as well is coming holidays ahead of us. What are the preparation? This might lead us to the end of our interview. What are the preparation from your side? And do we expect tourists as well, of course?
Yes, excellent. I'm always impressed with the few months, like one is September. In September, you have lots of events, and events are the powerful tool to bring tourists. We have the New Year, that people, Ethiopian origin, or Ethiopian living overseas would always love to come and rejoin with their family the New Year. It's a very powerful event. And also we have Mescal, which is a UNESCO cultural world heritage, already registered, and which also attracts a huge number of international community too. The bonfire and the different activities, the colorful dressing of the society, and the like, and also Irecha, the Oromo Thanksgiving Day, which is very powerful again. So September is a very typical month for people to travel to Ethiopia, and it's right after the rainy season, beautiful green mountains, flower, and the like. So September is an amazing month. So we knew that tourists will come. We noticed that people are already new people, including foreign people, are coming to the country to enjoy these celebrations. So for Mescal, for Irecha, we have also designed different optional package for visitors. We know where these are mainly celebrated. For example, Mescal all over the country, and Irecha mainly in Oromia. So we know where this best celebrated. So accordingly, we have designed a package for visitors, and our tourist information center at Bole, our tourist information center at Mescal Square in Addis, and also our digital media 24/7, 7 days a week. They are working. So we are trying to avail information, and we are doing aggressive tourism promotion using the digital platform. So accordingly, I'm sure there will be more tourists coming in the month of September to see the beautiful nature, to celebrate Mescal, to celebrate Irecha also. So the World Tourism Day is an additional tool and value for us to tell about tourism, to talk about tourism to the national and global community.
And apart from what you've said, what's exactly expected from media, like local medias, to promote Ethiopian tourism potentially to the global world, and even also to create a certain awareness about community tourism, the local domestic tourism, so that people will have more understanding. So something that you like to say?
Well, I would say it's very essential, and it's being very responsible for media to advocate the issue of tourism, to support the tourism sector this time. It's like kind of hangover time, for tourism to get out of COVID and to get out of the security cautions, and the reopening of every tourism facilities, and the restart of tourism nationally in a better way. And the motto of the World Tourism Day is rethinking tourism. We are trying to replan, to rethink, and to rework tourism in a better way. I mean, reworking means in a better way. So we are rethinking, actually, replanning the way we do things. So the involvement of media in promoting touristic spots, to avoid the pressure and stress that people have to travel between the touristic areas we have, is very critical. So the media has a very strong hand in this. We know that, and they can advocate. They can capture different events. They can also participate in different activities that we organize as a ministry, and that's everywhere. For example, in Gurage now, some of the private sector who are working with us are organizing a biking tour of the Gurage village where Mescal is being celebrated best. So in this, media could take part, and they can also exercise and capture all the different experiences they see, the exposures of foreign tourists and their feeling, capture some testimonials, and advocate it to the public and advocate it to other foreign tourists, so that it can really give a meaning. And in any case, coming out of COVID and some of the security cautions, the media are very crucial, and they can really make change in advocating the agenda of tourism and telling the people that we have safe touristic spots now, ready tourism service providers, tourist guides, car rentals, hotels. So the media can contribute a lot. I know that they have been doing a lot, but we anticipate them to work more than this.
Mr. Saleshi Girma, State Minister for Ministry of Tourism, I really appreciate you coming, sacrificing all the busy schedules that you have. It's been a pleasure having you once again. Goodbye.
Thanks so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been our special ETV English program, and we've been entertaining various pertinent issues of tourism and tourism related. And I've been your host, Biniam Gatana. Until we see you in another segment, goodbye for me now.